Alright, hey guys. So, you have read the title and clicked on this video. However many that is, does not matter. This video is here only because I want to show everyone what kind of process my story videos go through within each stage. Now, unlike other videos where I talk a bunch to everyone, this time I am actually in Gacha Club. Yes, that's right. It's not just a looped background. Now, for me, whenever I start a scene, I usually create a script before I ever start creating a single scene for any of my videos. That includes reactions. Now, about my story videos, what goes on behind the scenes for these videos that makes them so long to upload to YouTube. If you are still watching, you might have noticed I have multiple copies of William, Elizabeth, and Michael on screen. You know, I got two here, and then like 4 Williams up here. This is actually part of the reason right here. I'm not sure how many Gacha Tubers like myself, whether it is FNAF or not, how many do story related content, as I believe that was what Gacha Club Studios and Life was created for. But in Gacha Club, there is a feature I use a lot. Since I'm terrible at tweening, I use this method for all of my more advanced scenes that require a special touch, and that is the hide feature, which is right here. This entire section. I know most tweeners like to use this stuff. Let me show you a basic example. Bear in mind, I want everyone who is still watching to understand that even though this is at the basic level, this is essentially what I do in all my story videos most of the time. Very rarely do I find myself creating any video nowadays without using this. Now, when I put these on screen, they're just going to be arms. Well, this is fine. This is William right now. Sorry, that's not technically William at the moment. It's lonely glitch trap at the moment. I've kind of already did something actually. Actually, now that I think about it, I'll recreate a scene I made not too long ago. Give me a second here. Alright, so as you can see, this is actually a part in the current episode that is coming, which is Call Me Glitched. In that episode, I created a special pose, or whatever you want to call it, using the hide feature. So essentially these are individual Williams, and I've just stripped everything except their legs. Well, he still has his legs. Arms, sorry, and the other arm. So essentially there's 2 slots, so I'm using 3 at the current moment. Now, generally how I do things is I'll essentially just create my own poses. Now again, like I said, I'm sure that I'm almost certain there's other Gachatubers that do this. If not, then I mean, you're missing out on easy ways aside from Photoshop to essentially get something like this. You don't really need to tween at all. And now tweening obviously is much more, it's an entirely different category of thing. It's essentially just creating an animation, really. But if you wanted to do a custom pose that you don't see on here, especially some of the life poses that would work that I actually kind of used myself when I still use Gacha Life, aren't on here, which I find kind of annoying. Even with all 50 pages, there's a lot here, and at the same time not. But there really is a lot, because each individual piece of all of these poses is a treasure trove of ideas for things to recreate positions that you would expect to see in an animation, if only just being a static image on the screen at the moment. Now, like I said, this is basic, right? when I created Springtrap versus everyone that I'm throwing up on screen right now for everyone to see, that the part you're seeing right now, the amount of the amount of the hide feature I used in that scene alone took me like 3 days to do. I haven't played or configured with Gacha Club for basically almost like 2 years now, versus everyone who's been doing this for like however long Gacha Club has been out, and many more years down the line with people playing Gacha Life and Studios back in the very early days. Right, so I'm pretty new to this kind of stuff. Although I've been doing this ever since I swapped to Gacha Club. So I have whatever my very first food shop. I already know what it is. It's the second part of uh, the um, the Hangout video back in Volume 2, where just before Mike's reveal to have been possessed by Glitchtrap and leading into Glitchtrap's origins. I remember the entire episode. Of course, I would have to, since that was a big change when I went from Life to Gacha Club. Essentially, I used it right off the get-go. It was a little bit less of an impact back then, but now it's become almost a part of every single video I do. Very rarely, I think I haven't even used it in reactions yet, but if I do, that's just going to add more time onto reactions than it already has. But you have to take what I just did here and essentially double the amount of time it would have taken to make this. Now, this is not exactly the perfect example because this literally took no time at all to recreate, because I've already created this. This is a screenshot I've already made. Uh, like even facial expression is almost entirely the same. So I've already gone through the amount of time necessary to come up with this in my off time. Now, there are other poses that I've done that, like Vanny, for instance, in an image I'm throwing up on screen right now, like that covered pretty much all bases around like around 6 slots, right? So you got the two individual legs, you got the arms, and then you got Vanny. Now I always have an extra just in case, because even if you have two legs, to take control of two legs, so you basically strip everything off of the character and leaving nothing but the torso and the head. And so you'd have the arm, the other arm, the leg all separated. But in some rare instances, you really need to get even finer, precise precision. I know I just used the three of the same word, and the redundancy is triple the amount of necessary explanation. But basically, you would strip even things like the arm, so that only the shoulder arm is left. So, you know, if I just take this away real quick, something like this essentially, where you take away something, and so you would then put this in position, and then you could have, you know, as an example, I'll take this away and just make the arm a thing, and so that you can just like do this. Like if you were like, let's say you had like a slice of life high school brawl, right? And you wanted to simulate someone literally snapping their own arm, you could do that, right? You could just this you could just have them punch and then their arm just snaps, you know, like kind of just wiggles like the bone just broke. You know, that's something you can do. Obviously, it'd be easier to Photoshop this because then you could mess around in video editing to make this a little bit more animated and make it seamless to like an arm wiggling back and forth after having just, you know, destroyed its bones, but you get the idea. This is essentially the main reason behind why all of my story videos take really absurd amounts of time. most most people that I've watched take almost months to make their videos, and they don't even use Gacha Club, right? So I can't speak for myself. I'm technically doing something a lot harder in my spare time for making these videos than someone in Gacha Club who takes nearly as long as I do, but they probably have like things to do in the real world, and so do I. In Springtrap's defense, I sat there and I was wrapping my head around how I would do things, how I would get certain actions to be displayed, because in the real world I try to mimic and enact what I'm doing in the game. Sorry, not in the game. In Gacha Club. So like if I like in Chica's case, what you're seeing on screen, the whole Chica punches Springtrap, like that whole thing, I basically kind of simulated where the leg positions would end up, what her back leg would be when she's, withdrawing her punch, and essentially trying to simulate what it would look like in the real world and then slap that into Gacha Club as best I can. And I don't have the time to sit there and create all that and then just move on to another scene even more stressful than the last. When I was making that video, I took so many breaks because it was hair pulling just how annoying some of the stuff was. Like, I hadn't gotten used to the hide feature as much as I would have hoped, and I made a community post saying that if I couldn't even do that, right, as you're seeing on screen, that I would lose a lot of hope for, something like the fantasy story that will include characters like this, Lillian and Iset, and Lila is still Iset, and all these other characters, because they're a part of like a fantasy genre, which will require a lot higher form of what I'm doing with FNAF. FNAF is pretty basic level stuff. It's just punching, shoving, stomping, that kind of thing. It's really not all that hard, and obviously claws or whatever, basic level stuff. That's all I really wanted to talk about in this video. I don't want it to be like super long, like 30 minutes or something. It's already long enough as it is currently. I just want everyone to understand that as these videos progress and progress and progress, even until Chapter 4, they're going to get longer and longer and longer to create the more action that is required in them. And this leads me to my final message. Chapter 4 is going to be hard because it's going to take all of the stuff I just showed you, especially Springtrap versus everyone, and I'm going to essentially double the length of time because there's just going to be a lot of actions and character placements like this and stuff, little minor details like this, and so then you have Frenemy. Frenemy's like right after this episode, and you can kind of guess, if you know what the term means, you can kind of understand exactly what's going to happen, and it's going to be an all-out war between two sides. The only ones left on the one side are Elizabeth, William, who is still currently with a lonely glitch trap at this point. You got Michael, and you got Henry, who is a no-show at this very moment. The other side, it's pretty stacked. So, and my timetable for Frenemy is like 30 minutes. So, when I say this in my community post about how it will probably take a month or two, or a month and a half to make, I wasn't lying. Because creating a fight scene with all of these characters involved, like I did with Springtrap versus Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, it's not going to be easy. Even if I simulate what I want in the real world, it's not just going to be like, oh, I get it done, one and done. It's not how it works. And all I ask is I just appreciate patience. I'm not one of those Gachatubers you should expect to see a video literally every single day. 5 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, a reaction video every other day, 5 minutes, that kind of thing. Like, you can suggest whatever the hell you want, but I'll have to get back to you at a later date. And you'll just have to one day just pop in and out of the channel whenever a video drops, because that's the kind of luxury that I can only provide, unfortunately. I know this is getting annoying at this point. I always constantly talk about it, and now this video has gotten way longer than it should. Now it's at like 15 minutes, and this is where I'm going to start wrapping this thing up. I wanted to to do more than just show you something as basic as what you're seeing on the screen right now, but I think you kind of get the idea. And as a final send-off, this, when I say this is the basic level, 4 slots, this is a joke in terms of what I have to do. Even though when it comes to fight scenes, 4 slots is actually kind of annoying because, well, it really gets annoying when I have to do multiple characters and it requires 4 of each character, in which case I can usually only have 2 on the roster at a time. So then I resort to Photoshop, and that requires me to separate all of the limbs of an individual character and throw them into a green screen background, and then go into Photoshop and start improvising ways to make things happen, and everything just gets chaotic. Okay? So, I will see you at another time, preferably when this video launches, and then I will explain in another video similar to this how frenemy is going to go down, because I feel like frenemy is going to really, I really need to speak in case of frenemy. So thank you for listening. If you've listened to all of this, I know most people don't really care, but it is what it is. This video here is only here to demonstrate how annoying it gets, and I know that on the community page, and there have been people that say, yeah, you know, go at your own pace. I get that, but I need everyone to know. In any case, have a good day, have a good week. You know, the weekend's almost there, and stay frosty, friends. Stay frosty.